Hello again. This video is basically a sequel to my videos about building the heat treating oven. This one here. Now, if you haven't watched those videos, this will make very little sense. But I very much hope that you do watch this video, or you are watching it if you have watched some of the other ones. Because basically I blew it, really. I made some very, very basic mistakes which have come back to haunt me. Let's try and list them. First, I bought the wrong thermocouple. 2, I put the thermocouple in the wrong place. 3, I chose the wrong coil strength. 4, I put liquid glass inside the furnace, blah, blah, blah. I'll go through them. But the long and the short of it is I had a choice. Do I just forget about my heat treating oven, or do I rebuild it? And I couldn't bear that all that work and money would go down the toilet. So I've decided I'm going to rebuild it. Not the whole thing. I can't face rebuilding all the steel stuff, and plus I've run out of that steel and I don't really have the money to buy more of it. So I decided instead to invest on some more fire bricks, which were quite cheap, here in the UK at least. And so I'm going to take you through some of the mistakes I made and some of the improvements I'm going to make. Alright, so as I mentioned, this part of the video is not going to be for those of you who know all about electricity. Okay, this part of the video is for those like me who were very frightened of that aspect of it and didn't quite understand it or know what to do with it. So please don't yell at me if this is boring, just, please skip. Okay, what I found was going wrong was I started making this oven with Kanthal wire that was 0.8 mil. And it was working fine. There was no problem. But then everybody was telling me, well, you should really use 1 mil thick because it's going to last you a lot longer. And I was noticing that my 0.8 wire was starting to disintegrate and would fall out and blah. It was a bit of a nightmare. So I did what every ignorant bloke would do. I went out and I bought some 1 millimeter Kanthal wire. And I fitted in to the oven. And I couldn't understand why it kept melting. I said, how is that possible? It's thicker wire. How is it melting? And eventually I decided to pull my finger out and do some research. And then, of course, I discovered the reason. The thicker the wire, the less resistance there is. And the less resistance there is, the higher the wattage that is going to be produced. And the higher ampage is being used. Now, here in the UK, as you know, or as you may not know, we have a 240 volt electricity supply. Now, this is a very important equation to remember. Now, this is just a piece of 1 mil. It's not all cut to length, but it's going to give you an example. If I take a voltmeter and set it to resistance. I hope you can see this. And I put one probe at this end of my coil. And one probe on the other end. Now that's 9 ohm, 0.008 kilo ohms. All right, so that's, let's say, 9 ohms. That's 1 millimeter wire, remember. So now, if I divide 240 by 9, and I'm being generous because it could be 8 as well, right? So I'm quickly going to do that. So 240 divided by 9 equals 26.66. Now that is amps. Now for a start, my household electricity supply is rated at 13 amps. So that's already a problem. That's much more than my I could blow all the fuses here. But instead of blowing all the fuses, it melted the wire. And this is why. Because if you then want to work out the wattage, how many watts you're producing, you multiply 240 by 26.66. Now that is 6,400 watts. Now, anybody who has an electric heater, that should be watts, will know that that's an absurdly high wattage, and of course it burned the crap out of my coil. Because actually the kind of wattage that you want is around 3,000, okay, give or take. So basically half of that. So I need to make a coil that will have a resistance of 18 ohm. Are you with me so far? Now, either I can go back to my 0.8 millimeter coil, which, as it happened for the right length for my oven, worked out at exactly 18 ohm. It was over about 33 inches, I think, or whatever the hell that is in metric right now, I can't remember. And so that's why I was just lucky because I used 0.8 mil right from the beginning. But in other words, the longer I make this coil, the more resistance it will offer. So if I make this coil twice as long, it should be 18 ohm, in which case the figures change completely. Because if I make it 18 ohm, that's 240 divided by 18 equals 13.33 amps, which is fine on my system. Border, but it's okay. Then I take 240 times 13.33, 3,200 watts, which is pretty much bang on. In other words, what I have to do, if you remember my previous video, is my oven has one line of coil that goes round the oven like that. Comes out there, comes out, that's the view from the top. Okay? But now what I've got to do is I've got to re-carve those bricks so that I can, so now we're looking at the front of the oven, right? So these are the walls of the oven. That's the roof and the floor. I have to have one that goes in like this, and then back like that, and goes back, back and out, back, back and out. I hope that makes sense. So that's why I'm having to rebuild the blasted thing. So that's point one. Second thing I want to talk about is something that I saw in one of the videos out there, which I clearly should not have done, which is to coat the inside of the furnace with what's known as either kiln glaze or liquid glass, which you may have seen me do. Very quickly, a very kind guy called Johan, I believe, on one of the blogs told me, the makers of Kanthal wire stipulate that you should never use liquid glass if you're using Kanthal wire because it degrades the wire very quickly. And that is certainly true. I've noticed that my wire disintegrated extremely quickly. So this time, no liquid glass. So let me try and explain what I intend to do, because as I said, I cannot face rebuilding the entire structure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off, first of all, I'm going to take the electronics off, because I certainly don't want to rebuild that lot. And I'm going to angle grind along here and along here. So that the idea is that hopefully when I start smashing this up a bit, I'll be able to lift most of this out and then slip most of it back in if I get the proportions right. Again, bear in mind these bricks are quite easy to work, so hopefully that will be okay. So as I said, I don't want to change this at all. So it's basically a question of taking this lot out, chucking it, and rebuilding this bit here. And I think I only need to grind along these edges here, and I should be okay. Messy, but doable. And obviously knock out the door, because I want to put the windows in. Although I think I wonder if I could actually maybe not rebuild the door. Just cut those holes. Anyway, I need to think about that. So another thing I thought I'd quickly mention, in my earlier videos I told you how easy it is to saw through these bricks, and indeed it is, but there is a point to make here. That is as long as your saw is new. Do not use your best saw on this stuff, because you will see, I will do a close-up, it is practically worn away, the teeth here. Let me see if I can show you this. I hope you can see that. So that's how they started, the ones along here and along there, and that is what they look like now. I can run my finger along it and it's not even sharp. And of course this stuff, you could give it an equivalent of pumice stone really, and it just basically wore the saw teeth out. So you know, before you use your best Japanese saw on this stuff, I would think about that. The third thing I want to talk about is not so much a mistake I made, but an improvement I want to make, or at least try. One of the things that was very frustrating with this heat treating oven is not so much for hardening steel, but as you know, I'm also using it to make mokumigane. And you have to observe the mokumigane. You have to see that it's at the right temperature, that it's heat welding. And of course, I can't do that without opening the door every 5 minutes to check whether it's at temperature. So I thought, wouldn't it be wonderful to be able to have a peephole, like in some furnaces? And I wasn't quite sure how to do that. I was thinking of oven glass and all sorts of stuff. But then my friend Demetrius, whom I've mentioned many times, who is the creator of Jimmy's canal on YouTube, we were chatting and he said, I've got just the thing for you. And it's this, mica glass. It's made of mica, it's not glass, it's a mineral. And it's used for peepholes in furnaces and boilers and things like that. And it's incredibly heat resistant. And he's given me two. So the idea is that I'm going to fit these in the door, one at the front, one at the back, and hopefully that air in the middle will act as an insulator and I won't lose too much temperature. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. The door is actually very easy to remake, and this should only affect one of the bricks in the door. So anyway, I think that'd be really cool if I could do that, which I haven't seen in any of the other designs out there. So those are the principal things I'm going to do. The idea was that I took a 45mm hole saw and made a hole through the entire brick. And after having made the hole, I then sawed off two 15mm thicknesses on either side, front and back. And as you can see here, I am applying mortar, made a space for the mica and put it in there. Then repeated the same thing the other side. It's literally that simple. And I can now say, because I've done it, that it works. So quite pleased with that. Obviously, you've got to make sure the mica is incredibly thin, and I was very scared of breaking it. So you have to be very, very careful with it. But I think a little bit of care and just being gentle with it, it works very well. So I'm very pleased with the way that turned out. Okay, so as you can see, I've now at least double the length of the coil. I've put in 1mm coil. I've put in 20 staples to hold it. What I like a lot is now the wires go out the back here, which I think is a lot tidier as a design. And I'm about to fire it up to see that everything's okay, and I'm very much praying it is, because, well, you can imagine. I've also worked out the power that this thing is drawing and kicking out, and I was slightly surprised. So in fact, when I measured the resistance of this length of 1mm coil, it came to 25 ohm. So it's more than double what I had before, which means that my ampage draw, I mean, I'm talking off the top of my head here, but I think it's around 9 amps, which is great. But the output comes in at about 2,300 watts, which is about 800 watts lower than I was hoping for, or 700 watts lower than I was hoping for. But I hope that will still be able to do its job. So I'm going to switch it on now, and hopefully the element will glow. I have not tried it. This is live. It's only heating much slower than with the 0.8, and that's completely to be expected. But I'm happy with that. It seems more kind of regulated. Okay, all good. Happy with that. No madness going on. Okay, well, I've got it all together, and at the moment there's nothing to see here because the I'm warming the oven very, very slowly. But it's great having the window, and I'll try and film it when it gets hot. Well, thanks again for your patience and watching this kind of finale about the oven. I clearly did make some mistakes. Partly it was laziness, partly it was fear of formulae, etc., and maybe not doing quite enough research. Anyway, I'm now really happy with it. It's working super well. I'm delighted with the little window. That's really been fantastic. And anybody making this, I suggest that you do put in a little peephole into it, especially if you're going to do more than just hardening steels. Anyway, thanks again. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, please comment, please like. Thank you so much. See you on the next one.